The first thing Daniel noticed was the silence between them. Not the comfortable kind that settles over people who know each other well. This silence felt fragile, like a glass about to crack. He sat across from his daughter in the small Italian restaurant, staring down at the menu even though he had already memorized. The price is 15 minutes ago. Spaghetti, $14. Chicken parmesan, $18. Kids pasta plate, $9. Daniel Carter quietly did the math in his head again. $50. That was everything he had allowed himself to spend tonight. Dinner, tax, tip. $50 to give his daughter a night that felt normal. Across the table, 10-year-old Lily swung her feet under the chair. She wore a yellow dress that had once belonged to her cousin. Daniel had ironed it that afternoon, smoothing every wrinkle carefully. "You okay, Dad?" she asked softly. Daniel forced a smile. "Of course I am." But he wasn't. 3 months earlier, Daniel had lost his construction job when the company shut down. Since then, he had been juggling short-term gigs, delivering packages, fixing fences, mowing lawns, anything that kept rent paid and food in the fridge. Birthdays used to mean backyard barbecues and cake from the grocery store bakery. But this year, Lily had made only one request. "Can we go to a real restaurant, Dad? Like the kind with candles?" Daniel had said yes before he even knew if he could afford it. And now here he was. The waiter returned with a polite smile. "Have you decided?" Daniel glanced at Lily. "What sounds good, kiddo?" She studied the menu seriously. "The spaghetti looks amazing." Daniel nodded quickly. "Great choice." The waiter wrote it down. "And for you, sir?" Daniel hesitated. The cheapest adult meal was still $14. If he ordered that, the total might cross 50. His stomach tightened. "I'll just have water," he said. "I'm not that hungry." Lily frowned. "But, Dad, I had a late lunch," he said quickly. The waiter nodded and walked away. Lily looked at him for a moment. Then she quietly pushed the menu aside. "You can have some of mine." Daniel's chest tightened. "You're the birthday girl. That plate's all yours." She gave a small shrug. "Sharing makes it taste better anyway." Daniel laughed softly, though something heavy settled in his chest. The restaurant buzzed around them. Couples laughed. Glasses clinked. A birthday song erupted somewhere near the kitchen. It felt like the entire world was celebrating while he calculated every dollar. At the table beside them sat a sharply dressed man in his mid-50s. He wore a dark suit, his silver hair neatly combed, and an expensive watch glinted on his wrist. Daniel hadn't paid much attention to him, but the man had noticed everything. He had seen Daniel scanning the menu twice, seen the hesitation when the waiter asked for his order, seen the quiet exchange between father and daughter. The man stirred his coffee slowly. Then he glanced over. "Excuse me," he said gently. Daniel looked up. "Yes?" The man smiled politely. "I couldn't help overhearing. Is tonight a special occasion?" Lily brightened immediately. "It's my birthday." Daniel chuckled. 10 years old today." 10, the man repeated with a warm smile. "That's a big one." Lily nodded proudly. Daniel expected the conversation to end there, but the man leaned back in his chair, studying them for a moment. Then he said something unexpected. "Would you mind if I asked you a question?" Daniel shrugged. "Sure." "When was the last time you took a night off from worrying?" Daniel blinked. "Excuse me?" The man gestured subtly toward the menu. "You've been calculating every price since you sat down." Daniel felt heat creep up his neck. "I didn't realize it was that obvious." The man chuckled softly. "It's a skill you learn after running companies for 30 years. You get good at reading people." Daniel glanced at Lily. "I'm just trying to give my daughter a nice birthday." "I can see that." The man nodded toward Lily. "You picked a great restaurant." Lily grinned. "I saw it on TikTok." Daniel laughed. "Of course you did." The waiter returned with Lily's spaghetti. A generous plate of steaming pasta landed on the table. "Happy birthday," the waiter said. Lily's eyes sparkled. "Thank you." Daniel watched her excitement carefully. Then he discreetly glanced at the bill folder sitting near the register across the room. The man at the next table noticed. He reached into his jacket pocket. Daniel expected him to pull out his phone. Instead, he placed a small black business card on the table between them. Daniel glanced at it. The name printed on the card made his brain stall for a moment. Richard Whitaker, CEO, Whitaker Global Holdings. Daniel's eyes widened slightly. The name was familiar. Whitaker Global was one of the largest construction and development firms in the country. Daniel had once worked on a site partially funded by them. "You're that Richard Whitaker?" Daniel asked. The man gave a modest smile. "I suppose I am." Lily leaned closer. "Are you famous?" Whitaker chuckled. "Only to people who read boring business magazines." Daniel shook his head slightly, still processing. "So what brings you here?" Whitaker looked around the restaurant. "My wife and I used to come here every Friday night." Daniel noticed the past tense. "She passed away 2 years ago." "I'm sorry," Daniel said quietly. Whitaker nodded. "Tonight would have been her birthday." For a moment, the three of them sat in a shared silence. Then Lily gently pushed her plate toward Daniel. "Dad, try some." Whitaker watched the small gesture. Something softened in his expression. "You know," he said slowly, "I've spent most of my life building skyscrapers and companies." He paused. "But the older I get, the more I realize the most impressive thing in this room is a father trying to make his daughter feel special with $50. Daniel blinked. Whitaker signaled to the waiter. The waiter walked over. "Yes, sir?" Whitaker pointed to Lily's table. "Please bring another full dinner. And dessert. Whatever she wants." Daniel raised a hand quickly. "Oh, no, that's really not necessary." Whitaker gently stopped him. "It's already necessary." Daniel shook his head. "I appreciate it, but I can't accept charity." Whitaker smiled. "Good." Daniel frowned slightly. "Good?" Whitaker leaned forward. "Because this isn't charity." He slid the business card toward Daniel again. "It's an investment." Daniel looked confused. Whitaker continued. "I'm expanding a housing development project outside Columbus. I need experienced site supervisors." Daniel blinked. "That's what I used to do." Whitaker nodded. "I know." Daniel stared. "You know?" Whitaker tapped the card. "I looked you up while you were studying that menu." Daniel let out a stunned laugh. "You Googled me?" Whitaker shrugged playfully. "CEO perk." Lily leaned forward excitedly. "Dad, does that mean you got a job?" Whitaker smiled at her. "That depends." Daniel looked up. "On what?" Whitaker nodded toward the spaghetti plate Lily was sharing with her father. "On whether the man sitting in front of me is as good a leader as the man raising that little girl." Daniel swallowed. Whitaker extended his hand. "What do you say? Want to come work for me?" Daniel looked at Lily. Her eyes were wide with hope. He took Whitaker's hand. "I'd be honored." Whitaker smiled warmly. "Good." Just then the waiter arrived with another full dinner plate and a massive chocolate cake sliced with a candle. "Happy birthday," the waiter said. The entire nearby section of the restaurant began clapping. Lily's face lit up brighter than the candle. She closed her eyes, made a wish, and blew it out. Daniel leaned back in his chair, feeling something he hadn't felt in months. Relief, hope. Whitaker raised his coffee cup toward them. "Here's to second chances," he said. Daniel smiled. "And unexpected kindness." Lily grinned. "And extra spaghetti." And for the first time in a long while, the silence between them felt warm instead of fragile.